If there's been one constant in Major League Soccer over the last 3 years, it's that when he's healthy, Josef Martínez scores goals. Since 2017, Martínez has scored more goals in MLS than any other player, collecting 82 of them in regular season and postseason play for Atlanta United. But Martínez doesn't just score, he scores with flair, particularly when tasked with taking a penalty kick. Let's flash back to 2017 and take a closer look at the origins of Martínez's theatrical and unorthodox approach to penalties. On September 13th, 2017, Martínez was in the middle of his first MLS season, playing a home game against the New England Revolution at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. In the 31st minute, the striker stood with his hands on his hips, preparing to take a penalty kick. In just a few seconds, Martínez's shot would cross the goal line and nestle into the lower left side netting. But before the ball crossed the goal line, Martínez showed off his elaborate run-up that, from that day forward, would frustrate goalkeepers across Major League Soccer. With his feet just inside the 18-yard box, the Venezuelan began his approach. First, he shuffled to the left. Then he stutter-stepped. Then he started jogging forward. Then, as he neared the penalty spot, Martínez planted his right foot, pushed off, and skipped. He then landed on his left foot, took the shot with his right, and slotted the ball home. That 2017 crowd in Atlanta, Georgia, had just witnessed the genesis of Josef Martínez's penalty kick hop in Major League Soccer. Penalty kicks are strange. They interrupt the flow of the game and only involve two people. They're also converted at a roughly 75% rate, which means that they're almost always an overly harsh punishment for whatever the defensive crime was inside the box. The concept of a penalty kick is bizarre in its own, but add in hoppers like Josef Martínez, fellow MLS forward Alan Pulido, and the Premier League's Jorginho and Bruno Fernandes, and you've got an even more bizarre situation. But while it looks peculiar, and occasionally results in some SportsCenter not top 10 misses, there is a legitimate strategy behind the hop. In the days leading up to a game, goalkeepers spend time studying the tendencies of opposing penalty kick shooters, preparing for a possible penalty situation. Maybe there's a consistent swivel of the hips or a specific bit of footwork that indicates where the taker is going to place the shot. Or maybe the taker simply aims for one part of the goal far more often than any other. Goalkeepers arm themselves with information so that if they're tasked with saving a penalty in a game, they will be able to make some sort of educated guess to increase their chances of stopping the shot. That's why you'll occasionally see a goalkeeper with writing on their water bottle or on a piece of paper in their sock during knockout tournaments. Those are cheat sheets, packed with information about the opposition's usual penalty takers. Take the clash between England and Colombia in the 2018 World Cup's round of 16. In the penalty shootout, England goalkeeper Jordan Pickford used his trusty water bottle cheat sheet to help him save Colombia's final penalty, setting up Eric Dyer to send England through to the quarterfinals on the following kick. The hop, though, can throw a massive wrench into even the most studious goalkeeper's penalty kick preparation. It essentially tears up the cheat sheet, puts it through a paper shredder, and forces them into a new test. It's not that goalkeepers don't know the hop is coming. They do. It's that hoppers use their irregular run-up to turn the tables on the opposing goalkeeper. Instead of forecasting their shot location, Martínez, and others like him, use their airtime to get a glimpse of the goalkeeper's tell. When Martínez hovers in the air, he looks up to see which direction the goalkeeper is leaning. Once he's figured it out, all that's left is to land and shoot the ball to the other side of the goal. That's the magic of the hop. It gives the penalty taker a split second to read the goalkeeper's movement and place the ball accordingly. While the hop is difficult to stop, it's not impossible. According to FBref, Martínez has missed 5 penalties out of a total 26 in his club and international career. 4 of those misses have come after using his classic leaping run-up. For a goalkeeper, the key to stopping a hop penalty kick is to wait as long as possible before moving from your starting central position. If you lean to one side too early, the hopper can read you and shoot the ball to the other side. But if you stay in the middle of the goal during the jump, the penalty taker will run out of hang time and come back down to earth without a plan and without any power on their shot. It's a giant waiting game. It's a competition to see who will outlast who, the taker or the goalkeeper. Most often, the player who holds their ground the longest will win the duel. Since he scored that penalty against the Revs in 2017, Josef Martínez's hop has only become more exaggerated when he chooses to use it. Over time, Martínez has started to opt for a more traditional penalty run-up, one that involves the same shuffling, stutter-stepping, and jogging, but leaves out the jump. Maybe goalkeepers are getting better at waiting, or maybe Martínez is getting tired of jumping. Either way, when Martínez and others like him use the hop, they put the pressure on the opposing goalkeeper and position themselves to take advantage of even the smallest technical mistake. I am joined by the Athletics Atlanta United expert, Felipe Cárdenas. Felipe, thanks for joining me.
What's up, Joe? Happy to be here, man.
All right. So I've got some Josef Martínez penalty kick related questions for you. You've watched a lot of Josef Martínez. You've watched him score a lot of goals. Do you remember the first time you saw him make his traditional or weird, strange leaping run up for Atlanta United?
So yeah, you've stumped me because I don't remember the exact game, but I know it was the 2019 season. So this is Frank de Boer's season. And that was when I sat down with him, but I'm pretty sure actually in a game against the Galaxy, now it's coming back to me, the Galaxy game in 2018 at StubHub Center, which was once called StubHub Center. I think that was the first time he may have done it, and I don't think he scored. Because when I sat down with him in 2019, we talked about his process. He mentioned that game, he mentioned that miss, and the reaction that when he went back to the bench, when Tata Martino and him kind of had a moment about that penalty, because Tata didn't love it, didn't love that hop step. You know, he preferred that Josef just kind of step up and slam it into a corner, which he does often and he does very well. But you know, in 2019, when I sat down with him, you know, he went through that process of how he learned to do it, why it works for him. And at the time, he had already put a couple past Andre Blake, the Philadelphia Union goalkeeper, and they had like a little friendly rivalry going on. So it's a process for him that I think that honestly started in 2016, because that's what he told me. That's when he first started to do it, when he was at Torino. One of his teammates was his process. That was his PK approach, and he liked it. He liked the deception, and so he kind of took it from there and he made it his own.
One of the parts that I like most about the hop penalty kick is that moment that the goal taker, the penalty kick taker, looks up and looks at the goalkeeper's position. He almost stares him down in that moment. That seems to fit perfectly with Josef Martínez's on-field personality. My question for you, Felipe, is that also his off-the-field personality? Is he that intense, you know, kind of killer off the field that he is on the field as well?
I think it depends on who he is interacting with, because I've heard both teammates and other people kind of tell me that he's like a teddy bear and all that, and clearly he loves his nieces, and anytime he's around kids, and he's been public about this, he loves being around kids, he loves helping kids, he loves being kind of a role model for kids. But when he interacts with reporters and it's after a game or after a training session, I always feel like he's like in like Josef Martínez on-field personality, you know, very blunt, very short, sometimes with his answers, but just very decisive. And he kind of maintains this sort of, that killer instinct that he has in front of goal. Like he takes it with him often. You know, I think it depends on who he's talking to. So, you know, it's interesting that you bring up the fact that they do look away from the ball and they kind of look up at the keeper when they're hopping, when they're at that moment. And because it's more than a hop, yes, that's important, but it is a no-look penalty. I mean, that's what that's what it ends up being. It looks like a no-look penalty. At one point, they do need to look at the goalkeeper. And so the fact that it's so bold and that it is a risk, yes, it absolutely goes with Josef Martínez's personality. It became a big part of his brand, you know, at Atlanta United, in MLS. And I think he really enjoyed that. I think he enjoyed the reception that people got from him. He would talk openly about knowing that some people were criticizing him about it. One time he mentioned, he was like, I know some MLS reporters don't like it. And he would have mentioned who it was, but and I never figured out who it was either. But he knows, he's listening. He knows that people don't love it. But at the time when he wasn't injured and it was still 2019, he was like, I'm sticking to it.
From your time, and this is the last question I've got for you, from your time covering Josef and Atlanta United, is there like a top Josef Martínez story, an anecdote, something that you've got off the top of your head about Josef Martínez and the guy that he is as you've covered him?
Oh gosh, there's so many. There's so many. You know, I think it's rare that we get to talk to him. You know, he's not, you know, the team makes him available like every other player. But you know, I don't know if I have a specific anecdote. You know, I told, you know, the Sam Stejskal for his and Paul Tenora's podcast at the time when he just got so mad with the media coming into the locker room when he was still getting dressed, which is something that I think is hilarious because the Latino players are still, no matter how long they've been here, they're not used to that. They don't love how the cameras just kind of barge in 15 minutes after they've literally finished playing a 90-minute or 120-minute, you know, game, and they're still decompressing, and we just walk in. And one time he like yelled at us and said something like, you know, I'm still getting dressed, and whatever. So that was funny. He said it in Spanish, and he kind of went a little further with what we may see if we walk in. But I think he just has like one-liners, whether it's talking about going home after practice and smoking a cigar and drinking rum, which is something that he says often, or I think when he went through a little drought and in the beginning of the 2019 season, when Atlanta was still getting used to Frank DeBoer and he wasn't scoring, I think he was just very adamant, which is very kind of a cliche thing to say about strikers, but he used it. He's like, listen, I know that once I score one, the rest are going to come. And that's what happened. And so not many strikers can say that and deliver. And I think Josef Martínez is a guy that he knows that if he says something to us and it's going to get on social and we're going to tweet it and we're going to write about it, I think he's mature enough and savvy enough to know that he better deliver. And so I think that's how I think of Josef Martínez, is as a guy that can be kind of out there with his quotes, and I think he likes that attention. He likes when he's scoring and we're all our mics are in front of him. He likes the attention. But when he and the team are not playing well and we grab him, I think he turns into a little bit of like a fiery leader. And I appreciate that, because then a couple games go by and the guy he always seems to come up big. So that's why Atlanta United, that's clearly what Atlanta United is missing right now.
Felipe, thank you for joining me and shining a light on Josef Martínez, his penalty kicks, his personality, all that stuff. I truly appreciate it.
Anytime, Joe. Take care.
Thanks for watching, everybody.